welcome to this Hoops Talk presented by the Sportscast. Follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and download our podcast on Apple. If you do, please leave a ratings review. That will help us tremendous. Today, we've reached the Final Four here in the tournament, and we are joined by our usual Erwin Dudley, but also today we have a special guest, Luke Harangody, former Notre Dame legend. Thank you for joining us, Luke. Welcome to Hoops Talk.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate jumping on.
Looking forward to it. We'd love to have you.
A legend. That was a nice introduction. Legends.
He is a legend. He brought Notre Dame basketball back to the forefront.
He knows it too. I like how humble he
is. He's not denying it, guys. He is not denying. He knows. There we go. So we got we got ACC legend, we got SEC legend, and I'm just lucky guy in the middle who likes to talk basketball. So former high school semi-pro basketball coach. So there we go. That's all I got. So Luke, tell us. We know you played basketball at Notre Dame. Where's your career taking you past Notre Dame?
So I graduated Notre Dame in 2010. Shortly after I was drafted by the Boston Celtics, I had a cup of coffee in the league for 2.5 years, and then took my career overseas from everywhere from Kazan, Russia, to Valencia, Spain. I mentioned before, I met my good friend here, Erwin, in Istanbul. We played on the same team for 2 years. So basketball has taken me a lot of places and introduced me to a lot of great people.
That's awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here. So, little early on, we reached the Final Four, but, first round action, Luke's team took Erwin's team down. Notre Dame did take Erwin down. Sorry about that. What was your thoughts on Notre Dame season, Luke, and, their tournament performance?
They had a great year. They were there was a lot of ups and downs, but they caught fire around tournament time here, and they had an exciting victory in their playing game against Rutgers, and lo and behold, we were matched up against E's alma mater here, and I turned it off. I think I turned it off at halftime. Actually, I wasn't even close.
Wow, you turned it off at halftime, man.
But no, the Notre Dame had a great year. Coach Bray's done a lot with that senior class, and sadly, it came up a little short against a great Texas Tech team.
Yeah. They're a good team, but I think like Notre Dame definitely overachieved a little bit this year. I don't think with their preseason rankings, getting to the tournament and making it to like you said, win the first four, win the second round, make it to the round of 32 was a success. What makes Mike Bray the coach he is, to always get the most out of his team each year?
That's a question I get asked, a lot, and I always just answer, Coach Bray just is able to get, the players he has, the confidence that he can give them is unmatched by, he's a player's coach. He's, the character you see on TV is what you get in person, and he's fun to play for. He's loose. You go out there, you're free to make mistakes. He doesn't handcuff you, and I think that's you've seen with a lot of players over their careers in Notre Dame. In that environment, they've thrived and they've gone on great careers, and that's kind of what he's built there. And it's also a system of trust. Like I said, he doesn't keep you on a short leash, but at the same time, he recruits players that he could trust and give them that leash, and they're going to succeed for him. And it's obviously he's been there 20 plus years now, so it's worked for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I think Notre Dame doesn't always get the blue chip players, per se, but Mike Bray always seems to get the most out of each one of his teams. They're maybe not that national contender, especially at the beginning of the season, but I think he makes believers out of the national media, usually, sometime during the year. And this year, I think is no different. Not high expectations. Took a guy, from the Ivy League and Paul Atkinson. Really made him, I think, one of the best big men in the ACC this year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how he was a good player. I think at Yale, I think it was, but he really took the next level in the this year in the ACC. And I think was the difference, and the success of the team. They kind of providing that leadership. But let's go back into the tournament. This weekend we had actually first before we do that, what are your thoughts, you guys, on your reactions, general thoughts, after the first 2 weekends of the tournament?
Man, oh man, everybody was, the peacocks. Everybody was on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they were the story. They were the storyline. Everybody was talking about them. How they were playing, and rightfully so, that they deserved all the credit that they had gotten. But they ran up on a stout North Carolina team, and I think that it kind of North Carolina had a lot of athletes, and I think at the end of the day, I think that the game they played the other day wore down on them. They were tired, and I think the talent that North Carolina has was just too much for them. They were down by. I mean, they couldn't make any layups. They can make any 3-pointers, and so with that being said, if you can't make any baskets against a team like North Carolina, especially with them playing defense and those guards they have, I mean, you're definitely gonna struggle. Them, and then which kind of shocked me too. I had Houston losing to Arizona. I had Arizona actually winning the thing. I don't know why I picked Arizona. When watched them over the last few months, and they looked so good to me, and they were so tempting, and I chose them to win the whole entire thing. But Houston came out. Houston played. I watched Houston. I thought Houston would have won yesterday, but man, Houston, they shot the ball really bad yesterday. They went like 1 for 20 from the 3-point line, and if you go back when they played against what it was Gonzaga, they played really well. I mean, they split the ball in the basket, they scored, they did what they needed to do in order for them to win the game. But when they came up yesterday, they just came up short. They couldn't get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, defense can get you so far, but eventually you start having making shots. And I think some of these teams, especially Arkansas, or
yeah.
Houston, they play, tenacious, they're aggressive, but just the lack of shot makers, when you go, especially against Duke, it's tough, because Duke may be young, but this time of year, you got five, first round NBA players on that roster. It's tough to overcome.
I think they were. I mean, I think even coming into that game, they were overmatched. I think Duke was the clear-cut favorite, talent-wise, and and they had rim protectors, and like you said, they had first round draft draft pick as well, and Vaquero, and he played really well, and that other guy Williams, he shot the ball well. I mean, it was nothing Arkansas could do. Arkansas played hard like they normally do, but I mean, at the end of the day, Duke's their talent, they're long, athletic. Their talent just took, and Arkansas, they didn't have enough in the tank to beat Duke.
Yeah, I think I like what we saw. They spent a lot of energy against Gonzaga and played very hard. They just, they couldn't have that same magic. The second night. Luke, what are your thoughts? As we get to your general thoughts on the tournament so far.
I think it's been a fantastic couple of weekends here. I think, the tournament's had exactly what the NCAA loves. It's had parity. It's had a Cinderella run. And it gets the blue bloods here in the Final Four. I think talk about a great scenario wherever the winner of this North Carolina St. Peter. Either you have the Cinderella playing Duke in the Final Four, or you have Coach K playing his final season against. I can't believe North Carolina's never played Duke in the NCAA. That was a stat.
I can't believe. Yeah, I can't believe it either.
But Yeah, some people like to see a little less parity in the Final Four, but I'll tell you what, I like when it's the Blue Bloods. I like to see that
Absolutely.
this Kansas, Villanova, Duke, North Carolina, man. As a basketball fan, you got to love next week. I wish it was next weekend already. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. Really, really
Yep.
good. It's gonna be some lot
Yeah,
of defense.
I
It's gonna be a lot of defense played in those games. That's one thing for sure. And it's gonna be it's gonna be a physical game, and it's just gonna be who's able to overcome, who's going to be more physical, who's going to be able to rebound, and who's going to be able to put the ball in the basket. Because it's going to be a dog fight in all both of those games.
100%. I
yeah.
think
Yeah,
North Carolina is just. I saw them play a few times this year against Notre Dame, and I saw them play their last game at Cameron. And they kind of just found a cylinder here where
yeah, yeah, they did.
they're putting it together. But then you look at what, like you were mentioning before, what Duke did against Arkansas last night. It was just, every team is on the, this is going to be fun next weekend.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
think what separates Duke is just that the depth of you got Powell, you stop
yep.
Powell, then you got Griffin, or now Roach is coming
The
out. It's just like
Roach
it's
playing well
never
too.
ending. It's just, it's hard to stop. Off. You can stop a player or two your game plan, but when you have the depth of scoring your net, and North Carolina, they got their your guards are coming on, Love and I think Davis, and then Manic. You saw how much he means that team when he got ejected, by 25 against Baylor.
Yeah.
They had to hold on for dear life.
Mm-hmm.
He's just that gritty guy that can step out. Maybe a baby Harangody there, Luke. Does a little bit of what you did out there. Post draft,
I didn't shoot the three that quite well when I was in college, but no, he's talk about someone who's had a great tournament. He made himself a little money, probably.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see him.
Definitely.
I could see him being a nice overseas player.
Oh yeah, definitely. Most
But
definitely.
someone will give him a shot on a summer league team here, and I don't know how big he looks like he's 6'10", so you're 6'10", you can shoot like that, you got a chance.
He definitely got a chance. Yeah, that's true. But he can really shoot it though.
Yeah, no, he's tough. He's had a nice run here.
The kid Baycott
Yeah,
though for Carolina. Baycott,
he's got the
he's been
energy
playing.
level.
He's been playing really well. Double machine. He's been playing really well for him. Like he's come a long way.
Yeah, but
It seems like a typical North Carolina big man. That long, lanky. Crazy overly skilled. But just runs the court, rebounds. Like that high motor. Seeing Brandon Wright. Ed Davis. Through the years they had those guys that
Mm-hmm.
under Roy Williams. They love the rebound and they love transition. And get up and down the court. That bracket was crazy though. They went with North Carolina, with all the upsets,
Mm-hmm.
what ended up an 8-15, regional final. I don't think you've ever had a combination of number 22 or 23, in that bracket.
That's true.
Getting to Kansas, the one seed who kind of took care of business. What'd you see through them through the tournament, guys?
Man,
I think.
Go ahead, Luke.
I was just going to say, I think today's a prime example where, you have the pundits that have to chuck in Kenny at halftime saying they knew what they were talking about when they picked Miami. And I think that's the scary thing about Kansas is they can turn it on so quick. They'll get up into you. They started pressuring the backcourt. They hit a couple shots, and it's scary. You could see that. I mean, that game was over in the first 5 minutes of the second half, and they were down by 6.
Yeah.
If you were to tell me to pick a team right now who I like to come out on next weekend, I think I'd go Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What you thought, Aaron?
I mean, I can't agree with you more on that. I mean, the way Kansas is playing. I mean, I know McCormick. I know he's injured, but he'll have a week to rest up. But I mean, he played well, came in and gave him some energy to start, especially to start the second half. And I think that's when they really took off. Beginning of the second half, they were down 6, and then they came in. He scored like the first 5 points, I think it was, and they kind of turned the game for him. And once those athletes they started getting out and running, and Miami couldn't make shots. They had been making shots, and in the first half they did make shots, but then when it came to the second half, they didn't get any rhythm. They couldn't make shots, and a couple charges later, and they're down 10, 15 points. And so, and they kept their foot on the pedal. And the one guy that I think is going to be a key for them though, Akaji.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that really needs to get off in order for them to be successful. Like he's not aggressive enough. And I've listened to the commentators, and I watched him play a few times this year. I watched him the senior night they played, and he was real aggressive. He was aggressive sometimes, then he wasn't aggressive. And then just watching him play over the last 3-4 weeks, he's not aggressive enough. And in order for Kansas to even to be considered a contender to win the title, he has to get off. I mean, he averaged 20 points a game. He was the player of the year in the conference, so he has to get off in order for them to, I think, to even to be able to win the title.
Absolutely. The guy for Kansas, they didn't have a huge game today, but I think he's had I think Big 12 tournament is Remy Martin, former Pac-12 Player of the Year. It's kind of
Yeah.
when he's out there and he's playing at a different level. That's the guy coming off the bench. When you got bench scoring, especially I feel like like I said that next scoring. When it adds depth, that's something I don't think Villanova necessarily had. Villanova's got big, strong athletes, but they lost one of their players. Looks like for Tucker last night at the end of the game, which would be a loss for them. But Kansas, that team I feel like was kind of steady all through the year. I don't know if they might be peaking at the right time. I always thought going into the tournament they were the weakest of the number ones because they seemed like they were just average. An average Kansas team. They don't have that many. They don't have a Joel Embiid out there or anything like that. But it seems like that everybody else. Abaji had a great year, but now it seems like everybody else is kind of picking up their game at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. What do you guys see in that matchup against Villanova?
Man, Villanova's been playing well, but the kid went down was Moore. He went down with the Achilles yesterday. Moore, I think his name Moore. He went down with the Achilles injury yesterday, and man, that's a big. I think that's a big blow for them. They was already, kind of shorthanded. They didn't go real deep anyway. But he is one of their ball handlers. He kind of took the ball out of Gillespie's hands. So Gillespie, because Houston got into Gillespie yesterday. He really couldn't get off. He couldn't create his own shot. And those guards, they gave him fits. I mean, he scored a big basket down at the end of the game, to kind of, keep the momentum going. And he went to the free throw line, knocked down some shots. But they're gonna need him if they're gonna even come close to beating Kansas. They're gonna need Gillespie to get off because, like I said, with him going down with the Achilles injury, is gonna put more pressure on the other guys, and they're gonna have to score. The kid Samuels. I mean, he's been playing lights out. Like he killed. He killed Houston yesterday. He's been playing well for the whole tournament though. So it's going to be a real good game. But I'm going to go with Kansas. I think if McCormick gives them enough around the basket, if enough Braun plays well and Kaji plays well, they'll beat Nova. But I know Villanova's going to try to slow the game down, and Kansas, they want to speed the game up. So I think it's going to be whoever kind of imposes their will on the game, whoever gets their way as far as if they want to slow the ball down or whoever if Kansas wants to push it. But I'm going to go with Kansas.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a game. It's going to be a rock fight. Very physical teams, good. Strong defensive presence. Two teams that can lock you up. When they have to. What's your thoughts on that game, Luke?
I tend to think that what you just said. It's going to be a great matchup. It's going to be physical. I think both teams actually match up well.
Yep.
I did mention earlier, I got ahead of myself and mentioned I did like Kansas, but at the same time, I was telling someone the other day that, you can never count out a Jay Wright team. I don't think Jay Wright, gets the kudos, for what they've done in this past decade. It's interesting to me. I think, I don't know what it is. If it's just, they're in a big market. They're in Philly. Maybe, being in the Big East is, it's not the Big East of old, and but I would never count on a Jay Wright team. But that being said, I just think Kansas is too deep. I think they're too dangerous. I think they could come on at any minute. Like you mentioned today, their All-American wasn't even really involved in the game. He wasn't even hunting a shot. If he's aggressive and he starts to take over the game, like that poor kid from Villanova goes down. I just don't think they could keep up with the horses that I think Kansas is just a bit deeper than Villanova.
Yeah.
Even the backup big for Kansas today gave him some good minutes from McCormick.
Some real good minutes. Yeah, he did. Lightfoot or something like that. I think it's Lightfoot, big guy.
Yeah, Mitch Lightfoot. I feel like he's been there a long time. Kind of one of those guys that's always been there. Big. He never cracked the starting lineup, but he's always just kind of been that dependable guy off the bench. For Bill South. We talked a little bit about you. So you talked a little about Jay Wright. Who has the advantage coaching in this game? Jay Wright and Bill South.
Man.
One doesn't have the other. That's a toss-up. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It just kind of depends on which one you like. Because they're both proven winners. So, it's all going to come down to. I think it's definitely going to come down to. It's going to come down to some X's and O's, but it's going to come down to which one of those teams really wanted more. Because at the end of the day, they're both winning coaches. They're both running programs. They're going to match up pretty well. Also, but I know that Villanova is a little bit smaller than Kansas, but they have been rebounding over the last few weeks, and they're going to have to continue to do that in order to hang with Kansas.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the talent level, Kansas just got a little bit more, got some more pros on that team. I think Villanova's, like I said, I think their best weapon right now is to ugly this game up as much as possible, make that into a slugfest, kind of like that game yesterday against Houston.
Yep.
And Jay Wright's going to coach them up. He's going to put them in the best position. But I don't know if they have enough, to last all 40 minutes with Kansas. Let's flip over to the other side, kind of the marquee matchup of the night. So, we have UNC and Duke. So we have a rookie head coach going against the legend, Coach Krzyzewski. Luke, can you tell us any good Coach K stories from your day at Notre Dame?
So when I was at Notre Dame, we were in the Big East, actually. We never played Duke.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I don't have any good one. I don't have any good Coach K ones for you. I'm sorry, but
no, that's my bad. I forgot you're still in the Big East.
Yeah, I was in the Big East days. I'm an old man, so when the Big East was the Big, right. I just mentioned Villanova, but when the Big East was the Big East, it's not the Big East of old.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a little much different.
It's totally different. Yeah,
there's
totally
no shortage, I think, of some good teams, but it's not the legendary Syracuse, Georgetown, Pittsburgh, but it's kind of forming its own identity, different name, but I think that's being up in Northeast, we get a lot of those games, so that Villanova, Province kind of overachieved this year, like I said, different teams, but I think
the Big East,
this toughness, they need that, that Georgetown brand, yeah. And hopefully, I'm assuming, the biggest non-secret is hopefully Seton Hall hires the St. Peter's coach to, fill in that.
So that'll be big. That'll be big.
But we'll see. I don't think St. Peter's will be ponying up enough money to keep him. We'll see.
I don't think they have that. They don't have that in the budget.
No, sir.
No, as I say, a $1.6 million basketball budget. So that's crazy. And, to compete, and beating – their run's over, but what they accomplished was crazy.
I think that's Bama's budget for their players for their whole year. Cash budget, isn't it?
No, man.
What'd you get per year there at Bama?
Look, we only got per diem, man. A monthly per diem check, $130 something dollars. That was it per month, man. Not like now, man, with the NIL deals and all that. We didn't have that, man. So these guys, they can really get. Oh, yes. Yes. We need back pay, Luke. we need back pay.
So actually, here's a good question. Since you guys went to schools maybe not known for their basketball. What was it like playing basketball at a school where football was the main
Okay.
thing there?
Okay. Let me stop you on there right there. Okay. When I was,
I know Erwin was there during the bad days of football, but still it's
yeah,
Alabama, right?
I was there the bad days of the bad days of football. So we were the kids on campus. We were ranked number one in the nation. We won SEC title. We did all that stuff. So I don't know what's now. It's totally different. Well, not totally different because it is basketball has been doing pretty good over the last couple of years. But I know when I was there, we were the kings on the campus.
All right, yeah, that's a unique. I forgot you're kind of in that.
Yeah, we went through the stretch.
Was Mike Shula the coach there?
No, it was the Bulls was there. Then Shula.
Oh, okay.
It was, we kind of went through a bunch of coaches then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was similar. Yeah, similar when I was at Notre Dame. It was not some of our best football years. Quality players, but just not some of our best teams. But in the end, like you said, Notre Dame will always be a football school, and And granted, basketball had some great teams when we were there. We had a good thing going on, but football is king at Notre Dame, and it always will be. Which I had no problem with that. No problem with that, especially when they play Bama.
Oh,
I have nothing to say there. Yeah, I have nothing to say there.
Yeah. See that? Hey, look, but you got us in this. You got to. You all beat us in this sport that me and you that we play, and that's
all that matters.
I know. Yeah, to you, yeah.
Did you know any of the Golux while you were there, Luke?
I did not. No, they were a little after my time.
Okay. Yeah, so I was always wondering, like what it's like. I didn't know if you felt like you're a second fiddle, or just always trying to find your own identity, or use that. I think probably coaches use that platform, for recruiting to get kids on campus, see an environment, but
100%. I think you make a good point where Erwin and I did go to two schools that's probably two of the biggest football brands in college football, but at the same time, it's Alabama and Notre Dame are still leave football out of the picture. Those two just national brands where you bring a basketball recruit to, I can't even think of the name of your state. What's the name of the stadium? Football.
Brian Denny.
There you go. You bring a kid to Brian Denny, you show them the atmosphere for the weekend, you show them the Alabama brand. Kids want to go to places like school. Same thing at Notre Dame. It's a great atmosphere. It's an easy sell to get a kid there. And I think that's why the basketball programs are so successful as well, is because that brand is just so powerful, that Alabama Notre Dame brand, even though, basketball at both schools is always going to be second fiddle. And, it's still major high level basketball. So kids, maybe that matters to some kids. It didn't matter to me.
But see, they use both of them. They use both of them. They use both of those things. Like we use ours, and of course Notre Dame they use as recruiting tools, and they use them because they take that basketball players to view the football stuff and all that stuff because they want to see that. And man, I'm gonna tell you, like I went on a tour, at the stadium. Oh my gosh, man, the amenities are unbelievable. And nowadays, you're competing with, recruits want to see that. I mean, just if you go down to look at Clemson, what they're doing, and if you go to over at LSU, what they're doing over there, how much money they're spending. So you have to be able to compete because, kids are looking for things of that nature.
Brian, the only difference there between I was talking about Notre Dame and Alabama is that we're able to afford kids the academic experience as well.
Oh, we had oh, wow. Hey, look. Hey, we are both, Luke. We are both.
I didn't realize Alabama was in high regard in academic excellence these days. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Yes, we have a lot of students on our campus, Luke, that they're going to do a lot of great things, and other than sports.
Man.
I think you guys went to two good institutions.
The middleman staying safe there. Good for you.
I'm not going to say which one is more prestigious, but we'll leave that down.
Everybody knows. It's all right, Ryan.
It's okay. So flipping. So we're talking. You guys went to two, schools known for football. So in the Final Four, we got two schools I think that are known for their basketball program. I have a little 5-year-old who loves sports up and down. He's like, Dad, Duke has a football team. I'm like, yeah, they're there. He was just looking at YouTube highlights. He's like, I never heard of them. I'm like, yeah. But anyways, so we, like I said, we have Coach Krzyzewski's farewell campaign, and you have North Carolina. It's another sidebar question. Do you guys like the fanfare that Coach K's getting, or is it kind of a distraction to the basketball?
I mean, he deserves it. I mean, he's been coaching 30 plus years. I mean, this is last ride. So why not? I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches ever, to ever coach college basketball. So I think it's all fitting. I mean, I think he does a good job of keeping his guys focused on what they need to do, at the task at hand. Except for when they played North Carolina at the last game of the season. Now he got ran out of the gym, but that was real emotional for them. His last game at home. But I think that I think they'll be ready for this game. I mean, if you look the last two times North Carolina played them, I mean, they took care of business. But I don't see that happen again. I don't see Carolina beat Duke 3 times in a row, 3 times in one season. I'm going Duke all the way. I just think that they'll fight hard because this Coach K will be Coach K's his last ride, and I don't think they want to upset him or have his legacy tarnished by them not being able to divine and then making it to a championship game.
Oh, you guys cut out there for a second.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear Erwin. Ryan.
Yeah.
You guys not hearing me?
Now
Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead, Luke. What's your thoughts on this game and Coach K's farewell tour?
Just as a basketball fan, I'm excited. I don't think you could have written a better script.
Not at all.
And going off what E said, Coach K, he does deserve this. He's one of the greatest to ever do this. He's had a run that's unprecedented. So he does deserve the fanfare. And say what you want about connecting with the kids. I think he's got them locked in for the tournament. I think. That being said, if they would have got bounced in the first or second round, I think there would have been some noise. But was there too much outside pressure from Coach K's final farewell? But leave it to Coach K to have his guys locked in. And I'll tell you what, the young kids are, they're not freshmen anymore. Moncaro and even I know he's not a freshman, but Roach is coming on into his own. And I think when he gets going, it opens things up. And if Griffin shoots the way he does, I don't see. I just think it's going to be a different team than what Carolina saw on senior night at Cameron. But I don't want to seesaw here too much because, like I said before, Carolina's found another gear that I didn't know they had this year. And
yeah, I know, right?
Confidence is a scary thing.
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah.
But like that, like I said, that being said, I think. I think Duke's got just too much length. I know they got Baycock, but Duke's got too much length for them to deal with.
Yeah.
I have Duke as well going. Duke, Kansas, final.
Yeah, I think the Carolina guards can hit their shots. They have been. I don't think they're shooting the ball the way they were early in this year. Love and Davis, he kind of caught fire here, along with Mannix. But I think the first couple minutes, back in February when they first played at Chapel Hill, that first 10 minutes, Duke just onslaughted, North Carolina. It'll be interesting, but then you reverse it, 2 weeks later. I think with all the emotion, Coach K's last game, I think that game, while Duke didn't perform, I think that kind of maybe gave the players, I don't know, like a dress rehearsal to, that kind of pressure, or fanfare or whatever you might want to say that it's going to come on, during the tournament, and I think they've been able to learn how to push that distraction away and kind of just focus on basketball. And in the same way, I feel like you've seen a lot of emotion out of Coach K that you may have not seen out of, normal games, the fist pumps, the jumping up and down, over made shots, which is awesome, that, he's loving, I think, this last ride, and he loves his team, and his team's responding. And all, and also the game, throwing it to zone, against, Michigan or Texas Tech and Arkansas, things that, that would have played less than 4% of the possessions I saw. So, those game changing moves, he still got that, but, we have a coach in Hubert Davis, his first year, whose team is also kind of railing behind him. What's the coaching matchup? What's the keys in that, for you guys in this game?
I think for me, I think it's is whoever whatever team imposes their will. I think whoever definitely rebounds the basketball well, because if you look at, like we talked about earlier, Baycott, I mean, he's a double machine, and their bigs, Duke's bigs, gonna have to do a really good job of kind of keeping him off the glass. But also their guards, Love has been playing really well in the tournament, and I'm happy to see how I'm gonna be watching to see how Roach and Love. I want to see kind of that matchup, see how they, because they're two fast guards. They love to get up and down the court, but and Love has been really bringing it. He's been knocking down shots, getting to the basket. So I want to see that matchup right there. I think whatever guard wins that matchup, I think that'll get that'll be the team that gets the upper hand. But I'm still going Duke though.
Yeah, I think when you throw these these two coaches in the ring, and obviously Coach K is the he's one of the greatest of all time. I don't think you can really put Hubert Davis is still he's going to be a hell of a coach. He's still a rookie head coach though, and I don't think there's any much more to say about Coach K holding advantage there. But I think the one advantage that I would give North Carolina here is that they could just play free. I think they're at a point where there's no pressure on them. And when there's no pressure on you, when you have that confidence, I think it's a scary thing. And they have nothing to lose. I know it's cliche, but they really don't. They're not supposed to be here. Duke's supposed to be here, but Carolina, they say what you want. I think it's an overachieving team, and they come into their own and all. But a team that playing with nothing to lose is scary. And I think Duke saw that at Cameron, and that's another factor that you have to throw in there. That's Carolina, with their biggest rival of all time, ruins Coach K's final game with Cameron.
Yeah,
that's a factor that you also have to be aware of that comes into play. And like I said, just as a basketball fan, this is going to be a good one. This is must see TV.
But it'll be tough. Again, it'll be tough to beat. I mean, it's tough to beat any team. It's tough to beat a team twice, but beat a team 3 times, and then especially both of the teams are, they're very talented and they can play defense. I mean, it's gonna be a really good game. But again, like I said, I'm gonna ride with Duke. They got pressure on them, but I think that with them playing their final game at home and being against North Carolina, they they saw what it was like to have a lot of pressure put on them. And you saw what they did. Coach K apologized to the fans, but again, I just think that I think Duke will be ready for this right here.
I think the biggest winner out of all this is the NCAA and CBS. So, to be honest with you, like I said, talk about one hell of a script.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all kind of agree that we like Duke to get through this round. So, the potential Duke-Kansas matchup. Let's go hypothetical here. Who would you like in that matchup here?
Man,
There's a lot of hot seat questions on this podcast. Huh?
Hey,
I
you
got
know what?
experts here. I'm gonna wear them out.
Hey, in this, hey, I told you, and I had in my bracket, I had winning, right? So that's out the window. But I'm gonna go. I'm still going with Duke. Again, what's better with Coach K's his last game? I mean, they get a couple calls here or there, blah blah blah. I mean, hey, they want Coach K to go out on, out on top. I'm going Duke. It'll be a good game. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna go with Duke.
I'll stick to my guns, and I have Kansas. I think, don't get me wrong, Duke's one hell of a talented team, but I think what you saw in the ACC championship, when things aren't clicking for them, they run into a little bit of trouble. And last night was a perfect example against Arkansas. Everything was going their way. They look great, like well-oiled machine. But when things aren't going well, I think a couple of their younger guys still don't know how to correct those facets of the game. And I think Kansas is a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little more experienced, and they can overcome that, like a stretch they had today against Miami, where they're 0-4 going after halftime from 3 from 9 from the free throw line, and all of a sudden that first 5 minutes, the game's over. It's out of reach for Miami. Yeah, I like Kansas. I do. Watch it's going to be North Carolina versus Nova in the championship, though. I have to eat my words. We'll cut this part of the show.
Yeah. Well, we can edit that out, if it goes different. So we talked about what we think to be the winner. Who ultimately wins the tournament as a player or coach? Who who improved their draft stock? Which coach, is going to get that big contract extension? It doesn't have to be somebody playing in the Final Four. What player or coach do you think helped himself out this tournament? We always hear, that the effects of what you do in March.
Hey, you already know who it is. Shaheem Holloway. He's gonna get a nice
Yeah.
contract. He's gonna get a nice contract for sure.
Yeah.
100%. He'll get a nice contract. So he won't. He'll surprise me if he's at St. Peter's. In the next few months, next few weeks actually. I think him.
In terms of draft stock, I think the one kid, he's had a great season so far, but his last game he struggled. But Jaden Ivey from Purdue, I think, just improved his stock even that much more. And I think he's a top 5 pick. And the Big Ten didn't have the tournament they wanted, but the stars they produced this year, between him, Johnny Davis, and Keegan Murray, I mean, there's impressive kids. And we didn't get to see Wisconsin and Iowa that much, but I live in Big Ten country, so I got to see them play. And but I think Jaden Ivey,
yeah, I agree with that.
We talked a little bit about this last week in our podcast. I was up in Buffalo for the first weekend, and got to see Iowa. The effects of winning that conference tournament, I think playing those 4 games in 4 days for Iowa, Tennessee, I don't know if that was kind of a difference in those teams that played all, Virginia Tech, they didn't have those legs that next week. Is there as a guy who also played in conference tournaments, had to go and play in the NCAA tournament next week? Is there any truth to that, or is that just coincidental?
No, I think you ask Iowa going forward right now if they were making it and winning the Big Ten championship. There's no, I don't think there's any type of correlation involved there. You look at a team like Connecticut with Kemba Walker when they made their run. I think they played 5 games, 5 days in the Big East, and then went on to win. Yeah. These kids have gotten to the season where their wins really don't. It doesn't matter. Their stamina's there. They're ready to go. I think the one thing that no one's really talking about that I think is interesting is the Big Ten just all year the media was boom, 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 and the AC. No one really talked about the ACC, and they were one half away to having 3/4 of the Final Four all ACC today. It's crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely. They were kind of people was kind of raining down on that conference all year. Whether they get 4 teams or from 5 teams, whatever it is. A much lower number. They're usually close to 7, 8 teams in every year. where you got Big Ten with 9 teams in.
Yeah, it was a record. Yeah.
Yeah, but none of them are here in the final weekend. But it's March is all about matchups. And they didn't get out. The ones that helped them out. But North Carolina took advantage of the craziness in their bracket. Helped themselves out by beating Baylor. But and Duke is Duke all year. Good team. But also Miami. Kind of took advantage of their circumstance. Maybe played against an overrated Auburn team and destroyed them. There's for you, and there you go. But so the ACC had a good, strong finish. Any closing thoughts on the tournament? Or Final Four? Before we close up shop here.
I think we covered everything. Like I said, it's definitely going to be one for the ages. You got four top tier programs, blue blood programs that that's in the Final Four, and man, it's going to be probably one of the most exciting basketball Final Fours that I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
What about you, Luke?
We talked about earlier. I think there's going to be no shortage of hype for this one. I think, all week it's going to be Coach K on Sports.
Oh yeah,
we're going to get a lot of not that we already didn't have enough of that all year, but that's going to be the ongoing storyline. And but I'm excited still. I'll buy into it, and like I said, I like seeing the Blue Bloods. I think it's going to be fun.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I think Cinderella wins the first couple weekends, but the name brands are what draws the ratings. It's interesting. When there's nothing wrong with it, run by George Mason or whoever into the Final Four, but when you don't get the big name teams, it does affect the media attention that it gets into the Final Four. So yeah, we appreciate you guys hopping on Hoops Talk. Luke, I appreciate you very much joining us, giving your insight into the tournament and some insight into Notre Dame, and joining me and Erwin today.
No, thanks a lot. This was fun. It was nice to sit around and talk hoops and see my good buddy Erwin over here.
I appreciate it.
I don't know if I've ever called him Erwin. I don't think I've ever called him Erwin.
But, you always call me E, man. So that's fine.
That won't change.
Yeah, either or, it don't matter.
But thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
And where can people find you on social media?
I don't even know what my handle is. I'll send it to E.
Hey, I know what it is, Luke. I know what it is.
You give me a shout out, E.
It's Harangody 44 on Instagram.
My social media presence is not.
He's not a social media guy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
It's all right. It's all right. No, it's good to live without that. All right. Appreciate you guys. And you guys, if you haven't, download us on Apple Podcasts, leave a ratings and review. Until next time, enjoy the Final Four, and we'll see you next Sunday night. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Roll Tide.